All right. Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I think it's the first online webinar for the Ohio Local History Alliance in 2025. I've lost track. Certainly post our great adventure with the American Association for State and Local History conference about a month ago. So, welcome to the meeting. We are in a Teams webinar. Everyone except presenters will have your camera and microphone muted. I don't believe that you can unmute yourselves, but if you can, please don't. We are asking that you put questions, Q&A, questions for the presenter along the way in the Q&A feature and or in the chat. So I think questions ideally in Q&A, and if you have comments or other things that you'd like to say, you should be able to use the chat feature. And if that doesn't work, let me know. I expect that many sound and visual issues can be fixed by leaving the meeting and coming back. I know that was always the case with Zoom. So yes, at this point, I am going to, hello, Betsy Hedler, Ohio Local History Alliance Executive Secretary. Sorry, I just assumed literally everyone knew me. And I will now introduce Kate Lalonde, OLHA's treasurer, and I want to say executive director, but I'm not sure that's correct, for the Worthington Historical Society. Okay, executive director for the Worthington Historical Society, who will introduce our presenter. And I'm going to go hide my embarrassment off camera.
Thanks, Betsy. And welcome, everyone. We are excited today to be able to bring Faith Walker here to talk about PastPerfect versus CatalogIt. This presentation was done at a regional meeting in the spring, and there was a lot of interest beyond that region meeting. So we're excited to be able to bring it to everyone across the state and further afield as well. So as Betsy mentioned, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. I'm going to introduce Faith. She is a museum and collections professional based in West Virginia and Ohio. She holds BAs in anthropology and art history from Miami University and is midway through her master's in museum studies at Johns Hopkins University. She's currently cataloging private collections and assisting with auction documentation. Before that, she managed exhibitions and collections for a small municipal museum where she focused on improving documentation workflows and community engagement. Faith has hands-on experience with both PastPerfect and CatalogIt, and she's especially interested in how cataloging systems can better support small museums and independent collections. So, thanks, Faith.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. I'm gonna share my screen real fast. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see that? Kate, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much.
It is your presenter view right now.
Oh.
That we're seeing. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, is that still the case?
Give it a second. It might need to come back.
Okay, hang on. Let me try that again.
We tested this, we promise.
Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. How's that look?
Yes, you're good now. Now
okay,
this is the slide view. There you go. All right, we're good.
All right, well, thank you so much for that introduction, and hello, everybody. I'm Faith Walker, and I'm really glad to be here today to talk a bit about two cataloging systems that many of us know pretty well, or at least have strong feelings about, PastPerfect and CatalogIt. So I'll be walking through some of the major differences between the two platforms from a user's perspective, what each does well, where each can be challenging, and how those differences affect day-to-day cataloging. And then I'll also share a quick look at pricing and then wrap up with a few tips for making a smooth migration if you're considering a switch. Come on, there we go. So a little bit about me. I started out directing a small local history museum in Ravenswood, West Virginia, where I initiated the museum's first ever cataloging process. We started with PastPerfect, but after about a year and a half, we transitioned to CatalogIt in 2023, and we've never looked back. It was really important for us to find a system that a lot of inexperienced people could use, including people who are nervous generally around computer systems. And there are several other great features that we all loved, which I'll get into shortly. Come on, behave yourself. There we go. I'm now working with a privately owned collection here in Ohio, where I'm cataloging historic furniture, fine art, and decorative arts with CatalogIt's personal plan. This project's primary goals are to assist with estate planning, insurance, collections development, and in some cases, storytelling and preserving the object's provenance. Unlike at the museum, where collections management was one of about 13 projects and responsibilities, here I'm working directly in CatalogIt for 6 or 7 hours a day. So I've gotten to know it even better. The slides don't want to change. Hang on. There we go. Okay. So before I dive into specific features, I want to pause for a second to acknowledge something that I think really shapes how all of us experience different cataloging systems. Because our impressions of a CMS aren't just about the quality of the software itself. They're influenced by our institutional context and our staffing and our available time and resources. Working at the Great Bend Museum, for example, we had a single full-time staff member and a small rotating team of part-time AmeriCorps and high school interns. So I love this meme that somebody in the collections management Facebook group created, and I think it really sums up museums at different levels and where they are in their cataloging process. And if hopefully all of you are familiar with We're the Millers, but if you haven't, it's a fantastic movie. So David says, every entry in the collections management system needs to include all essential information, a description, the condition report, bibliography, and photographs of the object, which, wow, yes, that would be great if it had it, but that is ambitious. And then Rose says, we finally got funding for a partial inventory, so our CMS at least has minimum record standards for each object in the database. Fantastic. And then Casey says, we have 20,000 artifacts in our collection, no budget, and our registrar is the only staff member who can update information in the CMS. And then Kenny goes, you guys have a CMS? Our collection is cataloged in a 200-page Excel sheet. So we started at the Great Bend Museum in Kenny's shoes. And for the most part, now we're in Casey's shoes, and every now and again, we start to get in Rose's shoes, but it's, we have a lot of challenges in creating that sort of ideal system. Whereas the experience is going to look very different for somebody working in a larger museum with a dedicated registrar, a team of trained professionals, and IT support. And they might have more like David and Rose's perspectives. So when I talk about what I like or what I found frustrating in PastPerfect or in CatalogIt, it's really coming from that small museum hands-on perspective, because that's also really what I love about conversations like this. And it helps us see how the same tools can meet very different needs, and depending on the scale and structure of the organization. So keeping that all in mind, different sizes, different capacities, let's talk about what it actually feels like to use these systems. I'll start with a few of my favorite features in each, and then I'll talk about some of the things that didn't work quite as well for my team. And again, this is really about user experience. What makes daily cataloging easier and what can slow you down? So my favorite features in CatalogIt, I love that it has very intuitive, very simple, easy navigation. It has an app version that has been super, super awesome in helping us work. And they also have really great customer service. Whereas PastPerfect really impressed me with how powerful and complex its systems are, and they can meet all kinds of specific needs and functions. It also has some really great development functions for all kinds of development activities. And it also has templates for letters and forms. The less fantastic features, sometimes I find that CatalogIt can be a little too simple and have too limited options. Sometimes I can get frustrated with how much scrolling I have to do in the system, and it doesn't have any development actions, activities, or forms. So when I'm working with those types of projects, I have to use other software. Whereas PastPerfect, I frequently found, was just too complex for what we needed, which resulted in a lot of choice paralysis and a lot of just confusion and very few people being able to effectively work in the system. I'm also not a huge fan of the aesthetic, and it's also not Mac compatible, which became an issue. So diving into my favorite features in CatalogIt a little bit more, I love that CatalogIt has image-based searches. So when you're looking for things, you can just quickly look at the pictures and find what you're looking for. And I'm a very visual person, so that's really helpful rather than scrolling through a list of things that might have all the same kind of name, and you're having to figure out which one is the precise one that you're looking for. It also has a very efficient layout, and I really like how it uses the entire space of the screen, and there's really no unused blank space. And it also has a very simple sitemap with limited options. So these are sort of all of the options to build profiles, or sort of the behind the scenes data. And that's about it. And then here are some more, here's a list of all of the profiles that you can do that are a little bit more in depth. So like the type of rug, for example. But for the most part, you're just working with tags, people, organizations, locations, places, and events. So almost the who, what, when, why, and where of the catalog process. I also absolutely love its app. The app lets me access the catalog anytime, anywhere, which comes in handy a lot. So when I was working at the museum, I would frequently use it when cross-referencing information. So I would be, working at my computer, and then I would need to get new information about an object, and I'd just go into storage with my phone, find the object, update the information, move on, and I didn't have to lug my computer around. It also has a really awesome feature where you can take a photo with your phone, and it automatically uploads into CatalogIt, so you're not having to find photos that are stored on your computer or in your camera roll and upload those yourself. It's just directly into the system. And best of all, this app is free. It just comes with the software. And I really love working with the team at CatalogIt. And at the risk of sounding too much like a commercial, I have consistently found that their service is very fast and friendly and efficient. Those companies that really leave you asking, like, why can't all customer service be like this? For me, Chewy is one of them, and CatalogIt is another. Some other awesome features I just wanted to give a shout out to. I really like its price, and it has a really useful public access. They call it the hub, but that's where anybody can go on the internet and search for your collections and view all of it. And of course, you can determine what kind of information is publicly available. And this is another feature that's free. It just comes with your subscription. They also have a really awesome feature allowing you to edit multiple entries at the same time for some types of information, which can get really helpful when you're adding the same types of, say, insurance information to a bunch of items. You can just do it all at once. And they also have a special organization feature with tags, folders, and collections that allow you to customize and build your experience as you use it. It's almost like broad strokes building blocks that create a system that works for you and your processes. On the flip side, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about PastPerfect. It is a very different experience in a lot of ways, where CatalogIt shines in simplicity and ease of use. PastPerfect offers depth and specificity, and it's the kind of system where you might discover a new function 3 years in, and that can be both a strength and a challenge. I always find myself discovering nifty new tools and features like this one here, if you can see that, where you can automatically print different types of cards and labels. So you can print object labels directly from your CMS, which is super cool. Did I ever use that feature? No, but it's cool that it's there. And here are all the different categories for PastPerfect users, and each of these has its own maze of options and opportunities. And I would say one of the best opportunities are its development activities. So PastPerfect almost has two different focuses. It has the collections management focus with the catalog and the accession file. And then it has development activities where you can track contacts. These might be donors, fundraisers, volunteers, staff, all kinds of different people who are valuable for your organization. You can track membership and donations, in-kind gifts, campaigns, and pledges. This is that page. You can track volunteers and volunteer hours. And you can also create contact lists. So it's, for example, here's a list of everybody who should be to our annual volunteer banquet. They also have a really cool feature where you can create customizable, meaning programmable, templates for the most common registration documentation. So you have deed of gift, you have a thank you letter, you have temporary custody receipts, temporary custody thank you letters, return receipts, and then incoming loan documentation and outgoing loan documentation. And all of these, you can create a template, and then once you do the work to have that template in place, it makes it really easy to just, with a click of a button, generate this documentation when you need it. It also has a really cool feature with direct from scanner or camera image uploads, which is kind of like with CatalogIt uploading straight from your phone camera. And then it also has temporary custody records. So when things are brought into the museum but not yet approved for acquisition or not yet accessioned, you can still make records of them. It has some really cool features with exhibit planning and with monitoring, so you can track temperature and who worked on the exhibit and how many people have been visiting the exhibit and all kinds of useful stuff like that. It has inventory lists, so you can track all of the items in this year that you need to do maintenance on, or you need to track them down, you haven't seen them in a while. And then you can also create custom fields. So if you have a type of information that you consistently need to track, you can, but it's not already built into the system, you can build it in that way. But of course, no system's perfect, pun intended. Each platform has its quirks and its frustrations, and especially depending on the size of your team and how you're using it. So next, I'll go over a few of the pain points I've run into with both CatalogIt and with PastPerfect. And these are the areas that can slow things down or make certain tasks more complicated than they need to be. So sometimes CatalogIt can be a little bit too simple. So if you remember what I was saying about PastPerfect having contact lists, CatalogIt has person and organization profiles. And within these lists are, this is an auctioneer, this is a historical figure, there are staff members, there are donors, there are volunteers. Everybody, every name that might come up in your database is all in one list. And the same goes for organizations. You have historical organizations, and then you have organizations that aren't directly connected to the story of the object, but may have donated it, may be working with it in the museum. It's not divided up. And sometimes scrolling can get a little bit inefficient. So this is what the edit page looks like with most items. You have a description, you have a use or context line, and then below these two, there are drop-down menus for a lot of different types of information. And by a lot, I mean a lot. This is everything that you can choose from, and this is how many might regularly be in use. So there are a number of categories of information, like ethnography, that I have never used at the museum or with the private collection. It's just simply not a type of information that is relevant to our collection, but I have to scroll past them nonetheless. And so that can get a little bit frustrating, like when you're trying to add information to the deaccession section or the interpretive labels section, and you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page over and over again. And it also just, it doesn't have development activities or forms like PastPerfect does. This is a screenshot of one of their pages. And so for all of those activities, I have to use completely other software. It just isn't part of CatalogIt. On the flip side, some of PastPerfect's challenges are almost the opposite of CatalogIt. Whereas CatalogIt can feel a little bit too simple at times, PastPerfect can be overwhelming in its complexity, especially if you're the only person managing the database. So here are a few of the things that were toughest for us to navigate. There were a lot of really great features in PastPerfect that we just never used because we didn't have the time to learn how to use that tool, and then to continue to maintain that tool, and then to train others to use it. And so, you know, we're paying for this incredibly powerful subscription, but only using the tip of the iceberg. And so it didn't really feel like a good use of our money. It has some great tools, but with that comes a pretty steep learning curve. And there's so many different types of activities to learn. There's so many different types of tools to learn. And that can get just sort of so overwhelming that you just sort of freeze up and just don't use any of it. I'm also not a huge fan of the aesthetic. You've seen screenshots of both CatalogIt and of PastPerfect, and here is an image that CatalogIt uses to sort of demonstrate the difference between the two systems. And PastPerfect has a system aesthetic that looks like it was developed about 2000 and not updated since, whereas CatalogIt has a very modern, fresh look. And you know, that can kind of affect how you perceive the systems, and it makes you wonder, you know, if the rest of PastPerfect software is up to date. And it can also just become a challenge for accessibility, because the font sizes in PastPerfect are a lot smaller than they are in CatalogIt. And it isn't Mac compatible, which became quite a challenge, especially when I was working on this presentation, because I was going to create a PastPerfect account and play around with it more and have a lot more concrete data to share with you guys, and I couldn't, because it wouldn't work on my system. So we've looked a little at what each system does well as where they can get tricky. And so the next big question, and one that always comes up, is cost. So both systems are very affordable compared to larger CMS platforms, but they have very different pricing structures and feature tiers, which can really influence what makes the most sense for your institution. So I really like that CatalogIt is almost an all-inclusive package. I can show you on their website in a bit, but your subscription comes with a lot of just built-in bonus features, in a sense, like the app and like the hub. And then the three things that you can add on, purchases that you can add on to your subscription, are a plugin so that you can integrate CatalogIt directly into your museum's website. You can buy additional users, although I think the basic plan comes with, I think, up to 10 users. So it's still pretty generous, but if you need more, you can get more. And then same goes for additional storage space. In my work at the museum and in my work with the private collection, have never run out of storage, but our collection is also pretty small. So for people who need more, you can buy more. But that's everything you can add on. Whereas PastPerfect is a little bit more limited in its basic version, and then you can add all of these upgrades, but they don't come just built in with the software, almost complementary with what you're paying. And adding on each of these fees can quickly add up. And then I think last I checked, their web publishing option was also an add-on feature. I don't see it in this list, so it's possible that they've made that built in, but that was another challenge. We had to pay extra for our community to be able to view our system and to view our collection. And finally, I want to touch on migration because switching systems can be both very exciting and also very, very terrifying. And it's one of those projects that can get way more complicated than you think, but it can also be a really great opportunity to clean up your data and to rethink how you're organizing things. So I'll share a few lessons that I learned and some practical tips that made our process a lot smoother. So CatalogIt really lays out very well what its migration process is. You get all of your data in your original database, whether that's PastPerfect, whether that's Microsoft Access, or it's another CMS, and you export all of that into a CSV file, which is basically a spreadsheet. And then they do the processing, whatever needs done. They link up the fields with the fields in CatalogIt, because sometimes fields don't have the same names, and so you need to sort of translate this field as the equivalent of this one, and sometimes that translation can get challenging. And then lastly, there's the handoff, which is where they go over any issues that they had, any records that were giving them a hard time, and eventually you get your brand new system. So comparing some important questions about CatalogIt and PastPerfect, I believe last I checked, CatalogIt is $100 or $150 per hour to migrate, for the staff to migrate the system. They do offer discounts, as does PastPerfect. So if you're a member of the American Association for State and Local History, that helps. But CatalogIt also offers a really nice feature which allows you to do it yourself if you're brave enough. It's certainly challenging. You certainly have to learn what you're doing in order to do it properly, but it can also save you a lot of money. PastPerfect doesn't have this feature as far as I saw. And so when you want to migrate, you have to go to them, and they charge $100 an hour. And so tips for making that process smoother: clean your house. Make sure that your catalog is as up to date as possible, that all of the information is in the right places where you want it to be. When we were starting out, we were working with some tricky records from the days when they had just pages and pages and pages of handwritten cursive inventories. And so originally, I'm just transcribing whatever I can into the description section in our catalog, and not adding the appropriate information under the appropriate categories. And so when you go to migrate, you just migrate it to the other description section. It doesn't add, for example, the dimensions to the appropriate dimensions section. And so the tidier your system is, the easier it is to migrate, and the better result you get. Use the sandbox. That's what CatalogIt calls its free sort of trial plan, where you can check out the features. You can upload some data, see how it works, see how the migration process goes, see how it feels to use the system. And PastPerfect has a similar product. that was really, really helpful as we were figuring out how to migrate our data ourselves, because we could just keep uploading it and see, did it work this time? Oh, well, those fields didn't merge properly. So we'll just delete that and we'll try it again, and we'll try and get the fields right this time. And that also allowed us to really get a sense for the system, and is this a system that we would want to use, and that, more importantly, our volunteers and our interns would want to use. Hang on. I started to touch on this before. Be careful when mapping fields. For example, CatalogIt has in its condition report a feature where you can basically include keywords from a predetermined list. So you can say an item has foxing, or a tear, or water stains, or whatever else, burn stains, burn marks, and it's just simple descriptive words, and then those profiles come with a description of what that category or what that item or description is. So it's a really nifty collections index, condition index. When we went to migrate, we accidentally linked up the fields wrong, so that our more specific in-depth condition report, it has one tear in the upper left corner, and water stains and foxing, was accidentally uploaded to that condition index, which that was like 1,000 new entries that we would have to delete from the condition index, and then make sure that they that those condition reports still transferred to the correct condition description. And we only discovered it after we had finished the process, and we really didn't want to have to go in and do it all over again. So we just kind of left it be, and it, in a sense, rendered that condition index pretty useless for us, at least for the time being, until somebody eventually has the time to go through and clean all of that up. But that was an important lesson to learn. Simpler and smaller is cheaper. We originally started looking into getting CatalogIt after about, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, because we had already been hearing really great things about CatalogIt and really starting to think that might be the more appropriate system for us. At that time, we only had a few hundred items cataloged. And so when we got the quote, it wasn't too terrible to migrate it. So, okay, we'll keep thinking about this. Keep working in PastPerfect, see if maybe we can make it work better for us, and revisit this at a later date. Well, that later date was about 1,000 records later, which made the quote to migrate it a lot more expensive. And we hadn't quite realized that when we were first making those plans. And so the fewer items that you have, and the simpler your catalog is, the less time it takes to migrate it, and the fewer opportunities for glitches and mess ups, and therefore the lower the cost. But also consider future growth. When we were using PastPerfect, our museum was in no state to be considering seriously learning and using the development features and the forms and worksheets in the near future. We were really, when I started, we were really in triage mode. So we were really just trying to get data in the system. And again, this was one of about 13 different projects I was working on. And so it was really more important for us to find a system that all of us could easily use, which would allow us to build our catalog faster. And so we decided that it was really more important for us in, the next 5 years to have such a usable system, rather than having all of these awesome features, extra features in PastPerfect. But for your museum, it might be the opposite. And you might be looking for something that has more powerful, more complex features in the near future. So sort of consider where your organization is there. So that's a quick look at my experience using both PastPerfect and CatalogIt. And these are two systems that really approach the same goals in two very different ways. So if there's one takeaway, it's that the best collections management system really depends on your institution's size, capacity, goals, and again, your own personal preferences as somebody working with this system. We all work in different ways, and it's important to find something that fits us. What works beautifully for a small museum might not for a larger one, and vice versa. So I hope this gives you a sense of what each system can offer, and maybe a few ideas to take back to your own collections. Thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I would also be happy to actually walk you through some of these sites and these features that I'm talking about. And also, for those of you who are very curious about what this strange jug is, this is an item from the collection I'm working with now. It's a chicken waterer, which I never would have expected. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'd love for the next half of this hour to be a conversation. And again, I'm happy to walk through some of these features in a little bit more detail, depending on what you guys are interested in.
So if people have questions, go ahead and add them to the Q&A or the chat. And while we're waiting, I might start with a question. So in CatalogIt, we use PastPerfect. In CatalogIt, how does the search feature work? Does it search through all the fields?
Yeah, that is a great question. Okay, give me just a second. I'm actually going to demonstrate it with my computer. Hang on. Okay, there we go. So these are all of the entries I have been working with in the collection I'm working with now. So when you want to search for something, you can search generally for. These are all of the couches that we're working with, or in this case, something that mentions a couch. So that's a general keyword search that just looks for any reference in any entry that features COUCH. But when you want to get more specific, you can search here. So let's see. For example, category. I am looking for everything that relates to Cincinnati, Ohio. And category is really a sort of a keyword search where I'm trying to think of the word. You can include specific words that are important for your collection. I'm totally blanking on that term, but this is the list of everything that is important as a keyword in this collection. So that brings up, they have 136 items that I have linked to Cincinnati, Ohio in their collection. They're really into Southwest Ohio history, so they have a lot of stuff from Cincinnati and Dayton. And then you can look up, let's see, trying to find a good one. You can look up the entry, and so this is a furniture, it's a clock, it's from Cincinnati, and it's from Ohio. And then this is the sort of main screen where you can view the entry, and then here, this pencil icon is how you edit the entry. So with the search feature, it gets pretty powerful, because then you can also search for multiple things at a time. So I am looking for, the category is Cincinnati, and the classification is art. So I'm looking for everything that is defined as Cincinnati and everything that is defined as art. And apparently we don't have any.
Mhm.
So that's good to know. But Cincinnati maps, there we go. And so that can get really helpful because sometimes when you're just looking for a keyword search of Cincinnati maps, it can include stuff that isn't actually relevant to your search. So you can look up all different types of information depending on how specific you want to get. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. Okay, so we have a question that says, what does the number on entries mean in CatalogIt? Is that the total number of entries one can have or total number of entries per year? I'm guessing
That's a great question. So you're talking about this box down here. That is the count of everything that we have that is a Cincinnati category and everything that we have that is a map classification. So it pulls up 6 items. That can get particularly helpful when you're looking up stuff like furniture, where we have a lot. If you need to have a total count for a report, maybe, that can get helpful. And then you don't have to count it all yourself one by one. It just tells you. It's also pretty interesting because then you can also just generally see how many items you have in your collection. And PastPerfect has that feature too, just in a different format.
I'm wondering also, though, if that meant for the pricing where it says total number of entries.
Yes,
I'm not
sorry.
sure if you can comment if that's not correct, but is that when it says how many entries, that's total ever or for the year?
That is total ever. Yeah, so when you're working with the free version is the sandbox. Oh, there we go. Can you see that with the pricing chart?
Yes.
Okay, so the free version is the sandbox that I was telling you about. So you can start with 50 entries, and you can upload different types of materials, different types of entries, and see how well it works across your whole collection. This is how much storage you have. It's pretty limited, but you know, you can get a good sense for the system. But you can only have one user. And again, this is just where you're just testing out the system, but you haven't got a plan yet. And then the small, medium, and large are the different museum profiles that you can get. So yes, you can have a maximum of 25,000 entries in your system, which, you know, I'm at 1,285, so I'm good to go. And that's with the personal plan. So I'm really only halfway through how many I'm allowed. You get a lot more storage. You get up to 10 users, which is really great because then we can have all of our volunteers and all of our interns using it, and nobody's having to share an account. And then, as I mentioned, it comes with the hub built in. Whereas with PastPerfect, when we had it, you had to buy that as a special feature. And then this is the annual price, or you can get it as a monthly subscription. So you can really think about which of these tiers works better for the size of your institution.
Awesome. Maisie asked, how are DX sessions handled in both programs?
That is a fantastic question. So I don't think I can get into the museum's system anymore because I'm no longer there, but in the personal plan, it's basically items that have sold, that have been removed from the collection, you know, the way that personal collectors would deaccession. And there is a drop-down menu for deaccession information where you can say where it went, maybe how much it sold for, and any other useful information that you need to record. And then let's see, hang on. I'm looking up So, okay, so in this entry, you scroll all the way down to the bottom and it's disposition. So you can say how you got rid of it, when, maybe how much it sold for, or who you gave it to. Again, all the useful information. And then I've also created a folder for keeping track of all of the items that I know were sold from this collection. In this case, there were a lot of records that I kept finding for things that just are not in this building, and I'm so confused. How do you lose a chaise longue, a recamier? Where'd it go? They sold it. And so that allows me to know which records I can now ignore. So the museum's plan is very similar. And give me another second and I can pull up. They have CatalogIt has a really great bunch of resources where you can view pretty much anything you would possibly, any how-to you could possibly need. And I want to find information about deaccessioning. One moment. Haha, here we are. Okay. One moment. There we go. So this is on their website. You can click it in the upper menu. There's support, and then you can go and look up all kinds of different information that you are wondering about the software. So in this case, using the museum deaccession profile, it walks through how to create one. And again, it looks pretty similar. And then how to actually do the deaccessioning after you've created the profile. And you can upload all kinds of information. The other thing that I really like about CatalogIt is it's incredibly easy to upload information. So it's incredibly easy to upload photos, PDFs, and various other files. It supports quite a bit, last I recall. And so it's literally just a giant drag and drop box. So that's, and then you can also use it to search through your files if your file isn't immediately on hand to drag and drop. And then you can also create folder groups to organize your entries, which is sort of like the inventory lists that PastPerfect has. Does that help?
I think so. Maisie, let us know if you want more information. Mandy asked, how does CatalogIt handle archival collections, such as finding aids? Sorry, one just popped in there. So finding aids and folder level organization.
Yeah, that is another great question. So CatalogIt and PastPerfect both have, let's see, they're both organized by the type of information that you're working with, the type of materials. PastPerfect is very obvious about that. There's the archaeology collection, there's the natural history collection, there's the photography collection. And when you look within those collections, there are specific types of fields that are relevant to that data. And that includes archives. So in, I'm going to share my screen again. Hang on. One moment. So in CatalogIt, I can show you how that works. So when you go to create a new entry, that you click the orange plus button down here. This is where you can start with a file or a photo if you have one. If you don't, you can just start with no media and just start. So these are all the different types of entries that you can create. If you have something that just doesn't fit any of them, then it's an object or an artifact and it has sort of general basic fields to fill out. But in the case of archives, you can get specific fields for that, or if you're even more specific and you have a letter or an oral history, you can get even more specific fields for those. So then, scope and content of the archives, you can get information about specific items within the archive, as well as overarching archive detail or archival information. And then, let's see, where is it? In the museum plan, it's not in this plan, but they have a drop-down for lexicon, which includes a number of different types of lexicons. So if you're using, I think one of them is Oxford something. It's been a while since I've looked at it. Let me see. Hang on. So if you're working with different nomenclature, you can use several different types. And so that can be helpful for organizing your archives. But overall, I've found that the fields that are available within the archive classification are everything that I've needed for when I was working with archives at the museum. Oh, yes, hang on. I will attach the information for nomenclature. I remember working with nomenclature in PastPerfect as well. The challenge is it didn't make sense to our volunteers and our interns. So we found that they were regularly adding nomenclature that shouldn't have been added, and it quickly got just too frustrating and confusing for everybody. And the collection was small enough that we just didn't really feel that we needed to use it at that point. So I don't have as much experience with that part, but I do know that it supports the overall general favorites. They do have nomenclature, yes. Hang on. Oh, never mind.
It was me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are there any other features? Again, I'm limited with PastPerfect, although they do also have a really fantastic support map for all the different types of activities that you can do in PastPerfect. And I'm gonna pull that up now too. And they have lots of screenshots and let's see, here we go. And walkthroughs for using it. Both systems offer tutorials, both, I believe, like YouTube videos as well as trainings that you can sign up for. I think CatalogIt has a really great blog where they're constantly posting about cool new nifty features or new uses of the system. But yeah, so PastPerfect has a lot of different information in its user guide. And if anybody has the PastPerfect 5.0, which is the system that you have to download on your computer, it's not the web version. Here's that. Ooh, has there been any word from PastPerfect regarding the underlying software which is no longer supported by Microsoft? I haven't heard anything, but at the same time, I'm also not super surprised to hear that. You know, what I was saying earlier about the aesthetic looks pretty outdated. It makes me and several of our other team members wonder how up to date the software is. What would happen if one of these CMS companies were to go out of business? I know that PastPerfect 5 is software that you download onto your computer, but for web-based CMSs like CatalogIt, your institution would just end up with a data backup, but no way to view all your entries. I'm sure that they would make sure that you got your data backup. You wouldn't just poof, lose your whole catalog. But yeah, unfortunately, I would imagine that would happen, but I also have not heard any risks about either software going out of business. the one challenge that we had when we were migrating our system, I don't believe that it migrated our photos. And so we had to make sure that we had all of our photo files on hand, like not uploaded into PastPerfect and deleted from our system. And then we had to upload all of those to the entries again. There was probably an easier way to do that we hadn't found yet. It also probably would have been a more expensive way to do that we were really trying to avoid. But all that to say, if there was a situation where you needed to extract your catalog, it would be easy to get the CMS file database or CSV file database, basically just the spreadsheet of everything you possibly have in the system. But you might possibly lose things like files. Again, though, I have not heard anything about either program being threatened in that way.
It looks like that's all the questions we have in the chat and the Q&A right now.
Okay, wait, I see Marissa's typing something. While we're at it, I'm going to add my email to the chat. If you do have further questions, I would be happy to help you answer them. And again, I don't recall having a bad experience with PastPerfect's support team. I know that I just really like CatalogIt's support team, and if you had more specific questions, I'm sure that they would be excellent at answering them. Oh yeah, CatalogIt is a newer company. It sounds like they're doing really well though. From everything I've heard, again, I've been nothing but impressed. Okay, here's my email in the chat. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I hope this has been really helpful. And I really like both programs. Personally, I've found CatalogIt to be more useful, but I imagine that if I had been at a larger institution where we just had more capacity to learn the systems, I think that we really would have enjoyed using PastPerfect as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending the hour with us today. That was wonderful. And for everyone in attendance, keep your eye out for your local historians from the Local History Alliance to stay up to date on what we've got going on about grant opportunities that'll come probably in the beginning of the new year, and then our regional meetings that will happen in March and April. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody there. Thanks so much, Faith.
Thank you.
All right. Well, have a good day. Okay. All right. Hopefully I did